here.
You do got a point here. It's like if I have to go to the next crossing, and then the next one also says next crossing, at a certain point, I just don't get to where I'm going, and it's not the same place.
Is there any other words, or is there any other signs that go along with this? I just don't see. I don't know what I would do if I see the next crossing. Is this the next one? Is this the one I've been waiting on?
No, this is use next crossing. So here is another instance in which we get to demonstrate, discuss, and understand what really signs mean. And here it is. Don't use this one. Go to the next crossing.
I don't believe that sign ever is I don't think that sign's out there. Maybe at Six Flags, maybe at Disney World, something like that. But on a roadway, there's no chance that it's just sitting there by itself. I'll put the challenge to you. Okay. If you're out there and you come across those signs that are probably everywhere, hey, send us a picture of that. Show us that next crossing sign so we can take a look at that.
Absolutely, because that is a genuine challenge out there. You know, there's a great thing, and I just want you to know, Rick, I don't wear a sign up here unless it's applicable or it is posted somewhere out there for the viewer to actually see. In America.
In America?
That is correct.
America. Yes,
some of us actually love America. Some don't.
Okay. Hey, all right, so let's go into a nice, you know, it's Wednesday, right? It's hump day. Hump day. I have a heartwarming story to start this day off with. What the heck? God. Dude, listen. So a guy in Chicago, you know, from the, you know, has a heart condition. It's his last resort. And you know what? He gets that heart transplant, but it's from a pig.
Does it matter?
I don't know if it matters or not, but here he is right here. It's a modified pig organ heart, right? And it's in there 3 days later, though, producer.
It's like
he's
show and tell
feeling
at
good,
the
right? He's feeling good. Hold on a second.
Is this the dude?
No, this is not him. So you got you got the guy. He's got a modified pig heart. It's the first of its kind ever.
So
did that happen?
I have two questions. Number one, did the pig actually sign the organ transplant card on his license before it was given away? And
well, I do know this: that 3 days after this surgery, hey, the patient's doing well.
Nice.
Pig not so well, right?
Yeah, it's not so well.
Pig not so well.
You know what? There's plenty of bacon.
Is there, though? Here's my thing, too. You go across this, and we're going to get back to the story, but you bring that up. Is that now going to increase the value of the said pig?
I think so.
Is it going to?
You know, and not only do we have a definite love, you know, in our heart for pigs, we're going to actually have our pig hearts for our, you know what I mean? We're going to have a different kind of love.
Well, there's other organs right there, too, that pigs they're messing with right now to see can they fit in the human. That's the kidney, the liver, and there's another one, too.
Brain?
No, what? Not the brain. It's the lung. And the lung.
Oh, the lung. Hey, you know what? That's awesome because, you know, with all the advances in technology and the medications that allow the body not to reject these organs, it's really making a difference in what they're able to do.
Well, on the take that pig heart, for example. So there were some complications, I guess, earlier in the years with trying to get that done. That pig heart does some kind of growth on it, and it keeps growing. So they went in there on the gene side of it, and they took one of the genes out that keep it from growing. And it's just technology. These dudes are smart. I mean, it's scary, though.
Yeah, they're holding. Show that picture again. It's like show and tell in the emergency room. I'm just saying, we've got pictures. Hey, let's all pause a moment before we put the heart in the body.
Yeah. So the guy's 57 years old, last option. So great thing. So 110,000 Americans waiting on organ transplant.
I got you.
6,000 people die a year waiting on that.
Right.
And then Dr. Bartley Griffith, he said this was a breakthrough surgery and brings us one step closer to solving, Drive Safe Dave, the organ shortage crisis.
Oh, nice. That's you know what, and that's a good thing because if people have an opportunity, but I'll tell you a lot of it goes to, you know, we heard a lot about during COVID about all these people, no matter how many shots they got, they were resistant because of the medications they were taking for those, rejection medications. Anyway, very interesting, but I think it all has to do with the medications, also with allowing the body not to reject the outside organ.
Yeah, and then they, probably the last part was they asked, hey, when he was able to leave there, hey, what do you want? What are you desiring right now to eat? And that's where the producer had the video there. You know what? Just throw some vegetables together, some squash, some turnips, some radish, some anything. I'm just craving anything like that. Can you just throw a smorgasbord together and throw it on the table? That's all I'm craving right now.
Well, it just brings back to, one of my favorite actors of all time was Arnold Ziffler. So that basically, I think this is bringing him back to life, right? Arnold Ziffler.
Who's that?
Green Acres.
Oh, Green Acres. Gotcha.
The
yeah.
pig on
Got it. So Drive Safe Dave, we have an interview today. We're going to hop into that in about 3 minutes, okay? Josh Fisher. So interesting interview yesterday as we brought in Josh Fisher. He is what magazine is he with? Here we go. That's really good. Anybody?
It's Fleet Owner Magazine.
Fleet Owner Magazine, one of the oldest magazines. Anyway, you're the one that did the bio yesterday.
Josh Fisher on it. You were part of the show.
I know. I
know you did. If it's not on the headlines, Drive Safe doesn't read it. I actually had it down here. Josh Fisher, senior editor. And he has been going around and looking at the technology. Right. That's what he's doing, and he's just amazed at the technology involved in the transportation, especially as we start moving into that carbon footprint. And I really don't have an appreciation. I hear that word, that terminology, the carbon footprint. We're going to have another person on the show, possibly as early as next week, Tyler Cole, to kind of dive in and tell us, hey, what the heck does this really mean? Yeah. You know what, it's like supply chain crisis. Those are two words you hear all the time. We don't know what any of them mean, but we throw them out all the time.
Nobody can explain supply chain crisis.
If you can't explain that, try to explain carbon footprint. Right. So anyway, we do have an interview coming up with him. We're excited for that. We're going to hop into the interview. Yeah, Drive Safe Dave, we're going to come back after the interview, and we're going to show it. We're going to talk a little bit and give that phrase that pays out. And you've got to listen to it because Drive Safe Dave, he reads it in just that way it comes off your tongue is amazing.
It is true. It's because it comes from here, and not a pig's heart, but my actual one.
All right, coming straight from the heart. Let's show this interview from yesterday.
Hey, everybody. It's Drive Safe Dave here with BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. As you know, winter is upon us, and with winter comes some difficulties and challenges. Now, if you live below or running below that 20 or I-10 corridor, you may not feel that pressure, but if you do, let's talk about a few little tips that we have. Tip number one, let's make sure we get over here and we drain these air tanks. Let's get that moisture out of there so that we make sure, because moisture and freezing cold temperatures don't mix. All they make is ice. Tip number two, remember when air temperature drops, so does pressure in these tires. You want to make sure that when you enter into or near cold temperatures, you make sure that your tire pressure is and cold pressure stays correct throughout these cold temperatures. You want to be safe out there because this is where the rubber meets the road. Tip number three, if it's extreme weather and extreme cold conditions, you may want to make sure that you use an anticoagulant or an anti-gel inside the diesel fuel so that it thins and doesn't gel up on you in the lines or anywhere else. Tip number four, as you know, when you enter into the West, there are certain regions that require you to have snow chains and or snow socks in that region. Make sure that you carry them. And tip number five, I'm going to give this one to you as a freebie. Carry with you a little bit of cat litter in your truck. That way, if you get a little bit stuck or if you get near a region that doesn't have a lot of grip, you can throw that down and give your truck that needed oomph to get out of those sticky or slippery situations. For more pertinent and safety information, you can always tune in Monday through Friday, Central Standard Time between 7 and 8 a.m. and get that needed information on BCB Live, the safest station in the nation.
Hey everybody, welcome to BCB Live. I'm Sir Rick. We have Drive Safe Dave. Today we're joined by Josh. Josh is the senior editor at Fleet Owner. Josh also covers supply chains, the AI vehicles, logistics, transportation, and trucking. Fleet Owner, it's one of the oldest national publications, transportation publications in the U.S. Josh's background's in media and time working in journalism has given him lots of experience in topics that we're going to discuss today. With that, we're going to welcome Josh. And Josh, we're going to give you a chance now to kind of jump in and brag on yourself. Here's what we say you are, but hey, Josh, tell us who you are.
Yeah, we want to know.
Hey, Rick and Dave, thanks for having me. It's great to see you guys. I've listened to the podcast before, but it's nice to actually see what you look like 'cause I haven't watched the video before.
Yeah, well, this is what you get.
I won't tell you how disappointed or excited I was when I saw you both. But I've been with Fleet Owner now for over 4 years. I had a local news background before that, and honestly, I was fairly new to the trucking industry when I got involved here back in 2017. But I've absolutely fallen in love with it, from the drivers all the way up to the small fleets, the large fleets, and I think it's such an exciting time to be in this industry, and I love it because I get to cover technology, stuff that will work and stuff that won't work, and concepts that might happen and concepts that probably will never happen, along with the boring stuff like government and regulation.
Yeah, so Josh, so we just got back, right, to like the trade shows, and that was kind of like earlier this year, and it was cool. Let me tell you, because at all these trade shows, at the trucking conventions, all of these things, we saw technology really for the first time. I mean, it was all over the place, upgrades in this and this, the ability to track this. Technology has made its way into trucking, and we've said this for many years, is that trucking is really a technology company. No longer is it just moving freight from point A to point B. One of the things that you were just at the CES, and I wanted to go into that because I saw you did an interview, or you did a story on the Pack car. I had the opportunity to go drive a mirrorless truck, and wow, technology is crazy. Talk to us a little bit about what you saw up there with Pack car.
Yeah, aren't those mirrorless trucks cool? I mean, I got a chance, not in a Packer, but to ride in one by Stone Ridge's Mirai system, and we did that up in Michigan last year, and they're so cool. And I mean, I haven't talked to a driver at all who hasn't bragged about it and said that could just make their life easier. So what was interesting? So Packer was the only major trucking OEM to display at CES this year, and they've been there since 2018. And you can't miss them because they're out there on the central plaza of the Las Vegas Convention Center. A lot of people take the Vegas monorail to get to the show, and it has these big escalators that goes down to the convention center, and you just stare at the Packer trucks on display off in the distance. So you can't miss them. Which I think is pretty cool. And one thing that they've talked about too is, because CES is the consumer electronics show, but it's not just about consumers. It's about businesses that make stuff for consumers or for large companies, and how do consumers get their goods through trucking. So it's really important for the average consumers, the other people who go there. This is what the Packer folks tell me, for them to actually see and be able to see and touch a truck and see how important the technology on them is and how that's actually making the road safer. The average person, as we know, goes down the road, and I was like this before I got into this industry. You're like, oh my God, am I safe around it? Do I want to get around it? And now people really are starting to realize, I think, that the supply chain problems that we've had have helped highlight how important truck drivers are and how important trucks are. But they're really starting to see how this technology is actually making the roads safer.
But I do have a question of you. So we're going to talk just a little bit about the infrastructure. And I would probably like both of your opinion on this. What comes first with the infrastructure? Which is the most successful, quicker? How about this? The EV or the AV? You talk about the infrastructure in that electronic vehicle. Dave, we brought that up. What happens in Virginia, and you may know the answer to this, what happens when we have a highway shutdown if that's full of EVs? How do we address that just happened in Virginia?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it, and I think this has a lot to play into the fact that these EVs, these electronic vehicles, these big trucks that we're talking about using, they take a lot of charge. I mean, they're not like you plug them in at the house on a small socket. These take a high push to charge these up over an extended period of time. Who's going to build these right out there on the road, and who's going to pay for it? And how do we charge for it? I mean, there's so much
fuel taxes.
Yeah, fuel taxes, right? You're already. So we've got all these things that go into here, and I don't know that we've got the infrastructure in place to go out and buy a fleet of EV trucks, right? So you want to sell me some EV trucks, but What do I ask back? Well, where do I charge? Do I have to charge them all in my own home terminal? And if I have to charge them all in my home terminal, then I'm restricted on what I can do with them.
So that's a really great point. And the folks at Packer and folks at other OEMs have told me the same thing, that if you are as a fleet want to buy some EV Class 8 trucks right now, and you said today you wanted to place an order, you're waiting at least 18 months. And it's not 18 months to get the truck. It's at least 18 months to work with your local utility to set up the infrastructure in your yard to make sure that it can work. And it's not going to work for long haul for a while because you need to have a return to base model for these EVs. It's not like the Tesla that your neighbor bought to run errands around town and can charge it back at home. And it's no one's buying a Tesla and taking a road trip. I live in the Midwest. No one flies out here. Everyone takes road trips. If you're going to Florida, you're driving the 1,200 miles to Florida from here. You're not flying, and you can't take a Tesla 1,200 miles unless you are stopping every 300-400 miles for the night. So the same with trucks. Now there is some success for regional delivery for EVs. This summer I was in New York, and the Manhattan Beer Company, which is the largest beverage distributor in the Northeast, they were the first fleet in the Northeast to get an electric Class 8 truck. It was a Volvo, a VNR electric, and this was this guy's first one. He has a fleet of a few hundred trucks. A lot of them are running on compressed natural gas, and his goal is it's a cool thing because he's based in Hunts Point in the Bronx, which has the highest level of childhood asthma in the nation because it's a gigantic distribution center. And so they've attributed it to all the heavy duty trucks running through there and with the diesel and the exhaust. So this guy 20 years ago started converting more of his trucks to compressed natural gas. About half of his fleet is. Now he's moving to EV. But it's the perfect thing because how long is his route? He drives from Hunts Point in the Bronx into Manhattan to deliver. About a 30-mile round trip. So he only has to charge.
It's a tough 30 miles. It's a tough 30 miles.
Oh, it is. It is. But added to that tough 30 miles is what's one of the ways that these trucks recharge? Regenerative braking. So actually, the stop and go traffic of a Manhattan come in handy for these trucks. And he told me that he'd only need to charge them every 2 or 3 days.
From a manufacturer's side, they are worried as a company, as an OEM about this, about 2024, especially right now. So when when you think about where we are right now, we're on allocation right now for 2022. We kind of expect the same thing for 2023. As a matter of fact, most companies believe they're already sold out for 2023, especially with folks trying to pre-order trucks so they don't have to get the 2024 regulations, regarding California. So it's going to be an interesting year coming up. And when we talk about that, Dave and Josh, also, what about to the carriers, right? What about the carriers? Are we seeing any pressure on carriers, on shippers, on their carbon footprint, right? Reducing it, and from the Fortune 100 companies, forcing their carriers as well to come in with these EVs and all of this. Any word on that?
So they're definitely pushing for it. You're completely right about that. But there's the practical matter of how does it actually happen? And I think that what really we're seeing, UPS has something like over 10,000 vehicles that are running on a low emission power of some sort. Most of it is, I think, is renewable natural gas. But they're doing that on their own because it looks good for their company. It looks good to their shareholders. It's about moving the future. But so much of trucking regulations are actually led by the trucking industry. The latest infrastructure bill included requirements for heavy duty trucks to have the automatic braking, emergency braking, the AEB. But most trucks that you buy now already have that on it. And certainly over the next year or two, any new truck you buy is going to have that on it. So that's just the government catching up with the industry. Because, like we talked about before, it's all about getting there safely. It's about protecting your driver, protecting your cargo, and using less fuel, because what's the second highest cost besides the driver? It's fuel. So I believe it's going to be more of these companies trying to get there themselves than the government dictating it. And unfortunately, maybe some of the smaller companies will have to catch up with that eventually. But we don't have the infrastructure right now, even for like a nationwide compressed natural gas system, let alone EV.
Yeah, and as we talk about it, that infrastructure, they got to go hand in hand. You can't have the chicken without the egg or the egg without the chicken. You can't, and unless both develop, one's going to be hindered in its ability to do so. That absolutely is necessary on that front, and we've got to get that information not only to the populace, because if they don't see the need for it, they're not going to vote on it. They're not going to make a change, right? And until they see how important it is, because we just got to involve everybody as a group and get the information.
Yeah, and I'm going to kind of go in there, and when we talk about the smaller carriers or even any size of carrier right now, going to the EVs, it's number one, the infrastructure we agree it's not ready to go. Number two, it's going to take some federal funding, right? And is there going to be federal funding to help the smaller carriers out, the mid-size or the larger carriers out, move to this? When we went to the compressed natural gas, the only companies that really went to it were companies that had the rebates or had the funding from the government,
right.
Whether it was with the Texas Triangle up there in California, areas that were designed that there was money given from the government. Are we going to see the same thing regarding the EVs?
I think that's the only way we can see it. I mean, look at all the consumer cars. Like you get a rebate in most states, and there used to at least be a federal rebate if you bought those, because that's the only way that people can afford them for the most part. Particularly because if a regular consumer buys an EV, unless they only live in a city and never leave, that's not their main car. That's an additional car. And I think that with the larger trucks, they're going to need, along with the infrastructure and the improved technology and improved battery technology, they're going to need help to convert to this. Because unless diesel goes up to $10 a gallon and it just becomes pointless to use, what's the incentive for particularly the smaller carriers to move beyond that and invest all this money up front in alternative fuels unless there's some sort of carrot at the end of that stick?
Yeah, for certain. And then we had the folks from Atri on here about a month ago, and we talked a little bit, kind of in the same thing about the highway taxes and how these vehicles that aren't fueling, they're not paying the highway taxes. Right. They're running the same miles that the cars are, the trucks are, but they're not paying any of the highway taxes because they're not buying any fuel or not as much. Any thoughts on that?
No, that's a great point. And also, I mean, hey, Atri, what a great organization, right? So I love reading their stuff, and they're a lot smarter than me. But I'll tell you this from talking to people, cars and trucks are all more fuel efficient now, which means they get more MPG. So sure. That's less tax on that gallon of gas or diesel that is going to the federal government. And the infrastructure bill did not address that. It put a Band-Aid on the Highway Trust Fund, but it didn't fix it. And there's a pilot program to look into the vehicle miles traveled tax, the VMT, which would address EVs. And but still, we do need to have something sustainable. You know how messed up our government is in this country, and all the work that went in and horse trading that had to be done to get that infrastructure bill through. You can't rely on that every 5 to 10 years. That's how we're going to fund our roads and not, and our crumbling bridges.
Thank you very much for bringing us some great information. I can't wait to bring you back after you go to your next convention and let us know what else you see coming down the escalator, right? Get a chance to.
I can't wait, Dave and Rick. It's great. I got my whole travel log is booked up this year. I'm excited to get the hell out of my home office.
Amen. You know what? It sounds like we have a guest for many times coming. We want to hear what's out there. We want to see, and we would love for you to be part of this. Next time you go out there, let us know. We want to hear hear about what you're seeing out there. The evolution of this technology as we continue to go. Yeah, let's make that happen.
Yeah, and if you find something out there that you think everybody needs to know about, we would love for you to share. Come on and share with our our people and let us know what you found that you're excited about. Because I guarantee you, if you're excited about it, we all probably need to be excited about it.
Josh Fisher, we appreciate you. Thank you so much. This is BCB Live. And hey, Josh, you got to say BCB Live, the safest station in the nation.
BCB Live, the safest station in the nation.
All right.
Appreciate you, sir. God bless.
Hi, this is David Dover, also known as Drive Safe Dave. You are watching BCB Live, the safest station in the nation.
Safety is what you want to talk about, and safety is what you want to be every single day. That's what we're here for. We're here to make it better.
The industry needs BCB Live so that it can find new and inventive ways to bring safety to the forefront for every single person out there on the road.
You got to be prepared to stop. And when you look at that and you understand the situation that you're in, you got to know that it's going to change. You got to expect it to change, and you can't run those lights.
You can watch BCB Live weekdays, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. So what are you waiting for? Follow and subscribe to BCB Live today.
Thank you for joining us, and welcome back to BCB Live, safest station in the nation. Drive safe. We talked to Josh yesterday, or Jeff, sorry. Jeff or Josh?
Josh.
Josh, yeah. You know what?
Josh, sorry about that.
We do this.
We're not putting this part on the internet.
Yeah. Can we edit that part out?
Yeah.
You know, is it Josh Allen, Josh Fisher, you know, all these different names. I was struggling this morning with it. But you know what? It's nice to have somebody out there in the field that goes to these places and looks at them from a technology standpoint to come back to us and give us some information on what's happening at the OEMs from all of the technology out there.
Yeah, the new creative, new ideas, new designs, and some of these features that are state-of-the-art, next-gen. All these things out there make it really interesting and make it much better for the driver out there on the road each and every day.
Yeah, for certain. Hey, drive safe. I know we got Buckle Up Bob. We got Phrase That Pays. Want to talk just a little bit, though, just about what's going on in the volume and some exciting things, I really think. And we're going to first start with the volume. So we see the volume today at 14,400. Higher than it was last year. I think that's important to see because one thing we've spoken about here is that we don't expect January and February to be as slow, and I'll use slow, even though it was significantly higher than any other year, as it was last year. I think we have a backlog. We have a lot of freight ready to go. There's going to be a lot of tenders going out there, a lot of tenders being sent out. Again, you know, will we be able to keep the drivers on the road to get them delivered? On their day, we look at last year. You can see us in the green last year. We're more volume than we were last year. And again, normally around this time, we're under that 10,000 mark. 9,700, 9,500 is where that freight is at. So again, we go back and we look at it and we just try to see, okay, well, what did it do last year? Well, last year is the green market. And again, that volume just stayed so much higher than it had any other year in the purple. That's normal. Look at the volume up there. We started up just a little bit higher right now. And again, Dave, I'm going to say that we should expect it to kind of just go along that same coast, peaking a little bit higher, going down a little lower, but really hanging on that green, a lot of volume. And when I push this out here and we look at the rejection rate, another important thing to see. Last year, we were hitting about 22%. This year, 20%. So rejections are very high still. And when we think about what that means, every other year down there, that 8%. 8% rejected rate of 10,000 load. So you're not even rejecting that much freight, and it's 3/4 of the volume that we have today, right? So you have all this volume today, and my God, 300% more freight being rejected than it was normally. So the supply chain is going to continue to stay kind of tight out there. I don't think pricing is going to change much. I think it is what it is at this point. I think we put the rate increases in last year. I think many of the shippers got it. The spot market, again, if you're a shipper out there, it's something you don't want to play with. You know, get your consistent rates out there to your carriers, buy your freight, buy your power today, and get ready for it for the next year. Again, if you believe in our data, the data that we show here from FreightWave Sonar, it really points back to August of 2020 as the new norm. These numbers right here, they ain't coming back in a while. Forget about them. Don't focus on those. Focus on the new trend. Realize your number. Drive safe, Dave. It's Phrase That Pays time. Give it to us.
All right, here we go. I hope everybody's got their pen and paper.
They got it ready.
leave sooner, drive slower, live longer.
One more time.
Leave sooner, drive slower, live longer.
BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. You're watching BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. BCB Live covers freight.
Here we are now at 21% of record freight being rejected.
News down in Texas. We're going to talk a little bit about this. We had another $1.5 million seizure. If ever there's a time to do a pre or post trip, it's if you're doing something wrong. Weather, traffic.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to some traffic and weather with Buckle Up Bob. You can kind of see where the visibility can be compromised a little bit. Again, right where that rain is.
And most importantly, safety. One of the things that we must do is make sure that safety is the number one thing that we focus on.
Going into an intersection yellow is not the way. That's to clear an intersection, not to enter an intersection.
Tune in weekdays from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. You can watch BCB Live through LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook. So what are you waiting for? Subscribe today and follow BCB Live.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the safest station in the nation, BCB Live. I'm Buckle Up Bob, and we're going to go over some weather. But first, we're going to start you off with a little bit of traffic for your morning commute. We'll start with the DFW area, Fort Worth, Dallas. Fort Worth looks pretty good. Just right here as you pass the main downtown area and the 121 split, it starts to actually coming the southbound direction. You have a backup as you approach that merge point there. The rest of the area in Fort Worth looks really good. 30 coming out and in looks great. 20 also. Not too much problems this morning. Over in the Dallas area, again, just kind of a normal commute. We've got some problems on the westbound lane on the southern part of the 635 loop. There was a vehicle fire on 360. It looks like that's cleared coming up through here, so maybe that's all good. But you also have a problem down here as we merge 35E right here in 67, the merge point there, south of Dallas. And then out on the northwest corner, 75 coming from the north, heading the southbound direction. Near Richardson, we've got a little bit of a backup. And then Garland, all the way around to the 30 split, you've got a little bit of a backup. And that is all going northbound or westbound, if you will. As we go to Houston next, right? Houston's got, again, it's just a typical, nothing outrageous it doesn't look like, but just some stop and go. Some patience going to be needed on 45 in South Houston. Also on 288. And then the tollway here on the west side of it. And then downtown area, also the inner loop on the western corner. Going to need a little patience there. And then up here on the northern part there, as you can see, you got near Fall Creek and between there and just west of 69, you've got another little bit of a slowdown on the westbound lane. Kansas City looks good again this morning, everybody. No problems really to speak of. It looks really great. 70s clear. 35 north and south looks good. 435 loop looks great. And 49 coming up from the south also looks good as you come into the Kansas City area. So, hey, be patient. Slow it down. Chicago still looks good. It's looked good all week. Again, you can see 80 going across the northern part from Hammond, Indiana, crossing over. Looks good. 55 as you come up to Bolingbrook into the loop looks good. 88 Naperville and Aurora, you look great. 90 from the north up in Elgin, Schaumburg, all look great, as well as the 294 inner city loop or inner loop there also looks great. Shouldn't have a problem in Chicago this morning. Atlanta, you know, I've seen it worse, but it's just not great. It's just, hey, patience. Always have to have patience in the Atlanta area. Again, looks a little bit of a slowdown here on 20 on the westbound lane. Eastbound lane on the western side of Atlanta, you have a little bit of a slowdown as you approach 285. Sandy Springs, always an issue. Also on the southbound lane by Dunwoody, we have about a 15-minute backup. And then a big backup on 85, mainly on the southbound or westbound lane as you come into the loop. There's a little bit of a section here under Norcross going in the northeast direction as well. And then, so again, Sandy Springs got a problem. The southern part looks really good. So as you come in Atlanta, go the southern route if you can and go around. It's going to be your best bet this morning. Philadelphia looks a lot like yesterday. I mean, we're backed up all the way to Conshohocken, which is typical on the turnpike. But the rest looks good. Down here by the airport looks great. A little bit of a slowdown here along the river on the northeastern side of Philadelphia. And the New Jersey side looks really good. Pennsauken, Haddon, Collingswood, you all look great there. 295 looks clear. So Philadelphia, you got a pretty good commute this morning. Again, keep it where it is. Nashville looks a lot better than it did yesterday, folks. 24, just some stop-and-go spots. Looks like you got the 10-minute variety in 3 different locations. 65-24 merge there. Doesn't look as bad as it typically has. And again, that is the southbound direction. And then a little bit of a problem here where it meets the 440 loop and 24. But 40 looks great all the way through the city from both directions. D.C. and Baltimore area. Baltimore looks good. Again, always a little bit of an issue up there by Towson, Parkville. Same thing there. We do have a little bit of a backup, 5-10 minute, just north of right there by Laurel. And that's on the 295. And then 95 looks great as you come into the D.C. area. D.C., Washington, D.C. area looks really good. A little bit of an issue here in Annandale and Silver Spring and the Greenbelt looks a little bit, maybe 5-10 minutes there. But the rest of all the arteries coming in, 66, all looks great. 210, the 495 loop looks good. 270 coming down looks good. A little bit of a slowdown up by Clarksburg, but all in all, a good commute this morning as you go into the D.C. area. We come to Indianapolis. Typically a lot like Kansas City, but Indianapolis looks good. Just a little bit of a slowdown here on the southeastern corner of the 465 loop as you approach the airport and heading 70 west. And again, on the eastern side, looks really good as you come into Indiana. So all the arteries, 74, 65, 69. On the north and southbound sides, all look great as you come into the Indianapolis area this morning. Hey, we got some weather. And so right now, we get a little bit of a break, as you can see. We've got our wind gusts. Shouldn't be much of an issue. You know, just little spots here and there. You can see Montana, Wyoming might see some. Rest of the country for today looks really good. As we go through tomorrow looks good as well, even better, right? You can see not much over 20 mile an hour winds. And if we get you out there to Friday we start seeing some winds, and you're going to see why. We got some snow system coming in as well. Let's just go right to that. And there it is. You can see right where the winds come. Here comes the snow. It's going to kind of hit up there Friday as expected. It's going to come what they call as a clipper system, and then it just kind of expands a little bit. You can see Friday at 6 p.m. we start to reach Iowa, right? Most of Iowa is going to be covered, reaching into Illinois. And then as you go overnight into Saturday, that's when it kind of hits a lot of the service areas. St. Louis, Missouri, that I-70 corridor to Kansas City is going to be a problem. From Kansas all the way out to Denver could be an issue. You see it start to move into Kentucky, southern Indiana as well. Remember, the green part is just wet snow. It's still snow, no ice. And the yellow is a rain with snow mix. So don't see a lot of ice in this system right now, but just kind of be mindful of it. And that's Saturday at 8. And in the afternoon, it kind of starts to turn mostly over into rain as the system moves south a little bit more. And then as we get into Sunday, there's where we got to watch. Carolina, you're expecting about 6 to 8 inches. We're going to have a freezing rain line there. You can see the pink is freezing rain, and the brown is ice pellets. So again, we're going to have this mix. This is going to be really dangerous for the Carolinas, Tennessee, the northern parts of Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, you're all going to see some potential really dangerous road conditions. So let's make plans. Let's be ready for this. Again, it's a forecast, so it may not happen. The temperatures, okay, they are going to be right around that freezing mark. You see 32, 26 in Charlotte, so it's going to be the conditions for that freezing rain. Again, want to go back to that. So you can see this is Sunday at 7 a.m. So if we kind of get a timeline, Sunday evening kind of just starts to freeze there a little bit on Sunday, early Sunday morning, late Saturday night. You can see a little bit hits Kentucky. Most of it's going to be rain. Sunday is when it looks like right now the forecast is for a lot of the freezing rain. New snow, and if we go to the next 10 days to kind of get it there, you can kind of see 8 inches in Charlotte, potential 5 to 6 inches up there in Omaha and Iowa. So again, it kind of splits up as it moves out down through the south a little bit there. You can see St. Louis going to get about 3 inches in the next 5 days. So this is one of those systems that's coming, and we just got to be ready for it and use good judgment out there on the highways. Hey, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with some safety.
You're watching BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. BCB Live covers freight. Here we are now at 21% of record freight being rejected. News down in Texas. We're going to talk a little bit about this. We had another $1.5 million seizure. If ever there's a time to do a pre or post trip, it's if you're doing something wrong. Weather, traffic.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to some traffic and weather with Buckle Up Bob. You can kind of see where the visibility can be compromised a little bit. Again, right where that rain is.
And most importantly, safety. One of the things that we must do is make sure that safety is the number one thing that we focus on.
Going into an intersection yellow is not the way. That's to clear an intersection, not to enter an intersection.
Tune in weekdays from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. You can watch BCB Live through LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook. So what are you waiting for? Subscribe today and follow BCB Live. Hey, welcome back to BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. Drive safe, Dave. A little bit of anger issues going on this morning, but it's okay. You know what? I forgive you.
No, I know you do forgive me. I personally am having a little bit of issue this morning with some, I don't know.
Gas?
Huh?
Gas? What's going
not
on?
Gas. I just.
You know what? We're here. You know what? One thing we bring to you, everybody here is iron sharpens iron kind of an attitude inside. We're here for one another. As men, we've got to continue to work that. Drive safe, Dave. What is wrong?
I just, one of the commandments is thou shalt not use the Lord's name in vain. And I feel like it's being broken here on a regular basis by none other than Sir Rick. I just truly do believe that.
I do not. I don't know if I've ever done that. You know what? I don't know where this has gone bad. Not a better time right now than to bring in Buckle Up Bob with some safety news, Bob. Sorry, you had to jump in on that side. Good. Dave, get your hand out of the way.
Yeah.
Okay, y'all. I feel forgiven by both of y'all. Thank y'all.
Hey.
My ring.
Oh,
wrong religion.
Yeah. Oh man. Hey, we talked a little bit about the snow coming, folks. So we got to be ready this weekend. Saturday, Sunday looks like the worst days. We'll continue to give updates as we get through the week and see what the forecast is actually going to do. Again, it's forecasted. Looks like Sunday's going to be the dangerous day with some freezing rain in the Carolinas. So be ready out there. If you didn't hear the first part of the weather, be ready for that freezing rain this weekend. We've been talking about too fast for conditions, and again, it looks like it's perfect timing. But tip 3 is about the exit and merge points. We kind of touched a little bit briefly on it yesterday. But remember, the posted limits there in these curves and these merge points are for regular passenger vehicles. They're not for the big rigs. You got to be well under that, 5-10 miles under that speed limit to be safe. And then one of the neat statistics was, ramps and interchanges only make up about 5% of the all of the highway mileage out there, right? But they account for 20 or 30% of all large truck crashes. So 20 to 30% of all the truck crashes happen at these merge and exit points. We've seen many times where the passenger vehicles are taking 3 and 4 lane exits. We've seen trucks do it on occasion. We're going to see one today where they're passing on a exit ramp. So again, it's just all the things you got to know. These are hot spots for potential really bad accidents. And again, 20 to 30% of them happen at these areas, even though they don't make up the majority of the highway miles. So it's just knowing the situation, right? Too fast conditions. Merge points usually has some traffic, usually has somebody either distracted, not knowing where they're going, and then all of a sudden see their exit, and no one ever thinks, just go to the next one and turn around and come back. They all want to jump in there and try to make it. So you've got to be ready for that. Be prepared. Just like intersections, you really almost have to just prepare to start slow down as you get to these hot points, because there's going to be somebody out there that's going to cause you some chaos, and you got to be able to react to it. We do have some videos. Again, for some pretty good ones, not much. Here's the one we was talking about. You can see this driver shows a lot of patience, keeping the space, right? And then the four-wheeler gets impatient and started way too early on the solid white line, and now is going to pass on the entrance ramp there. So again, watch this. You can see the sign there, right? And this driver does a great job just sitting back, being patient, and then the four-wheeler says, nope, got to go around these trucks. And I also see the two trucks, you don't know what's going on, but you always see this happens a lot when there's two trucks, drive safe, occupying both lanes.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of impatience by the four-wheelers, not understanding that, a slow pass on the left or the right, as long as they're passing. I mean, I just don't understand this impatience trying to get around, this hop skip around on the deal. It just doesn't make any sense. No. It's dangerous to all. And as this truck tries to move over, this guy's coming in. So you've got everybody merging into the same lane at the same time. It just makes it hard and more difficult for everybody out there.
And I think you start to see the lane disappear there right there. So he didn't have much room to do that. Good job by that driver. Folks, this tailgating is tailgating. Count. We talk a lot. One of the drivers said, hey, just count, right? And if you count, you don't get a second here. And it stays for quite a while. You've got to back off of this. Again, we talk about the merge points. There's all kinds right here. So all kinds of things can happen, and we're tailgating a vehicle in front of us. You just got to back off and be patient. And here, again, great job. There's a sign that intersection's coming ahead. I travel this highway every day, every night, every morning. It can be a nightmare with traffic, and stale green, and the driver's ready. Great job there, being able to stop, right? Pay attention to the sign there. Well back. Just a good job at knowing the situation and being able to stop at an intersection. Just great job. Again, didn't have much. It was a good day out there as far as videos. So, again, y'all doing a much better job. Again, we did have a backing accident yesterday. So, hey, remember, get out and look, right? You got to check them doors. Make sure they're secure, that they can't fly open, things of that nature. Who we got?
Yeah, we got Curtis Benedict on the line. What do you got for us, sir?
Good morning, Curtis.
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. Hey, I just want to give you an accident update in Arkansas on I-40 eastbound at mile marker 203. There is a turned over big truck blocking the right lane. And the closest town to that, Bob, would be Bisco. which is BISCOE, Arkansas. If anybody's going that direction eastbound, they might still be able to get off at the 202 and then go south down to Highway 70 and cut across. But if you're going that way, just pack your patience. It's going to be a while. So that's all I've got, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks, Curtis. Appreciate that very much.
Do we have another caller? Okay. So Bob, you bring up a couple points there. Number one, you know what? First, when we don't have a lot of videos, again, that's a good thing to you. Continue driving the best you can, keeping your distance. Bob, as you know, so in your other job, your real job, right? You're a safety director, and when you catch these videos, when you see a video like the one we saw where we're just following too close, I mean, what is the conversation like to the driver? I mean, do you have the conversation, or is it just something we show? What do you do after you've seen that video that you're following too close? What's the next step that you see or you take where you are?
We call the drivers. We document them, that we've had the conversation, so we can always see, are we repeating the conversation? Is this driver come up, quite often, or is there improvement? We're looking for that improvement after the conversation.
So what's happening on that? How come? What's the driver seeing when they're following too close? And you call them up on that. Do they know they're following too close?
Some do. Some say, yeah, I was thinking about. Some actually admit they were thinking about stuff at home. And I said, okay, we got that, but you've just got to you got to remember 1 second's all it takes for that to let your guard down to where this gets really bad. Some just feel like they're just not thinking at all. They said, well, I just felt like I could stop. And and when we show the video, I said, you see that, we like to get them to pull over where they can, and then we'll send them the video to their email and watch it together again when we can. And then if it becomes a problem, then we bring them in. We do some more training on some training websites about tailgating, intersections, whatever the case may be. And then we keep documenting and look for the improvement. And we've seen a lot in some of the drivers. We had one, and I'll leave the name out, but it seemed like he was on there every other day. We called him in, and it took about 3 conversations, but you hardly ever see him on there anymore. And it's just keeping at it and getting them to understand that a lot of it's just old habits. Mm-hmm. You see, I'd say the majority of these, like the one today, this guy's been driving for 30-some years, and they'll say that too. They'll say, you're right. It's just a bad habit, and I'm working on it. And I said, yeah, and then I go back to, I'll pull up their 30-day history. I'm like, you know what? This is your first one in the last 3 weeks. So you are doing some improvement. Try to give them encouragement as well.
Yeah, and Dave, we talk about that as well, is that, it's a shame that you can go and drive millions of miles in your career, and for 10 seconds, for a minute in one day, you're having a bad day. Your mind's going somewhere else, and then a bad thing happens, right? I mean, you can do your job in this industry 99.9% of the time, and that 0.1% that you're not doing, you're following too close, you're distracted. Yet maybe it's the first time ever you look at your phone for a text, and that's the time it happens.
Yeah, that is exactly what happens. It's usually drivers doing everything they can all the time. It's when they do let their guard down, when they do allow the bad habit to approach, or allow that moment of not paying attention. That's usually when the bad things happen. I mean, it is without question the hardest thing in the world to drive 11 hours and staying focused 11 hours. I mean, we talk about it, but in the reality is that is the hardest job there's got to be, because the potential is there every single second that you're out there on the road.
So let me bring this up, and we have about 5 minutes, so I'm gonna ask for a couple of folks out there. If you want to participate, get your hand ready to go, because I'm gonna hit a sensitive subject right now. Is Dave, knowing the technology, Bob, that we have today in this industry, right? Why wouldn't you, as a trucking company, as a truck driver, why wouldn't you have the driver facing? For a second, let's just take out, the personal stuff. What if my wife, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the camera that just points at the driver that says, hey, you know what? You're on your cell phone. Hey, you're falling asleep. Why wouldn't you want that if that's all it could do? Is there anything that worries you about that you don't want you don't want to see you use your phone? I mean, talk to me about that if you're out there. Raise your hand. Dave, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, Why wouldn't you have that technology?
I mean, we do have the technology. I hear all subjects, all topics, and all this, but you have an opportunity.
Saying for those two things only is all I'm talking about. If that camera could face at you and just look at you, the driver, and just tell on you when you're getting distracted, when you're falling asleep, when you're using your cell phone, nothing else.
Yeah, so
nothing else.
Much like when you hard brake, it is an incident in which it identifies an action that is unsafe behind the wheel.
Yeah, would it scare you? Somebody get on the phone and talk to me. What don't you like about that? Is it? I don't believe it's intrusive at that moment.
No,
I don't believe it is. It's there to help coach and help make you safer. Buckle Bob, you talk to anybody about that in what you do?
Yeah, I talked to drivers that have had them, and most of the technology out there, they only come on the inward facing when the truck is in gear moving forward. They like when you're stopped and sitting, the inward facing doesn't work. And then some drivers have said, well, I've got the curtain that I can cover it, for the privacy. So yeah, it is a good thing. I think a lot of it, from what I've heard in the discussions, is fear of termination. A lot of companies won't use the technology for coaching. They look at it for reasons to get rid of people. We've done a great job here of just coaching the driver.
I'll go to and I would say, you know what? Let's get a company on here that has the driver facing camera. I don't believe any company today would use that to get rid of drivers. That could have been the reason years ago when it first came out, but that today again is not the reason why. It has to be used to coach, and I don't believe companies today are using that to get rid of somebody. They're probably using it to coach. In a market right now where you struggle to get drivers at, you're not looking to get rid of anybody, right? I mean, you're not doing that for that. Hey, producer, talk to me.
Yeah, we got Justin Hayes on the line. What do you got for us?
What's going on, Mr. Hayes?
Good morning. How are y'all?
Doing well, sir. How are you?
I'm good. So, in my opinion, I believe y'all hired us to do a job. We should do it to the best of our ability. We are professionals, Class A professional drivers. You shouldn't be on your phone. You shouldn't be, doing whatever. I can understand getting tired sometimes. If you're tired, pull over. I think a lot of that, falls on our shoulders as professionals to do our job. Now, regardless of my wife being back there in the back and maybe waking up and the camera goes off, I'm just saying we should do our job every day to the best of our ability. And to me, also, it's kind of intrusive. Like, I'm going to use Dave Dover because we all like to pick on Dover. Dover don't have a camera in his face all day. What if he wants to sit in his office and take a nap and he's on salary? It's just, I don't feel like everybody everywhere has a camera in their face all day. And sometimes I feel like our industry, we're so heavy on us. It's do this, do that, safety equipment this, safety equipment that. And it's like all the responsibility, and it just everything keeps piling on and piling on. What can we do for the driver? What can we do to the driver? What can we do to the driver? You hire the right people. You have great guys in the office hiring the right people, or should be hiring the right people. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm wrong. That's kind of my opinion. I don't know.
No, I appreciate that, Justin. And you know what? You bring up some great points on that. The one piece that I would say I would disagree or argue on is the fact that, everybody should do their part. But that kind of we shouldn't need the police officers in, because nobody should rob the bank. But people are going to do that, and nobody has their, and so while it's maybe you're never on your phone, it's the majority of it's a lot of people, I should say, are on their phone, and this is one way to work with them to get that curbed. I would agree too, and great point, and I've never thought about it like that, is absolutely, I'm not walking around with a GoPro following me every time, and when I close my eyes, when I get on my phone, and when I play whatever game on my phone, I want to play Farmer's Game or whatever that is, you don't see that. We don't see that. Everything's on you. The driver, I hear what you're saying on that. Great point on that. It does give you something to think about is, all on you. But I would say use to coach, use to remind you. And just I would say this is, again, as a driver, and we see it on the road, we see all these accidents, people falling asleep. Some people, especially as they're growing up, right, in your industry, I think, Dave, and you tell me this, is that you don't know what too tired is until maybe you've experienced it, right, as a driver.
Yeah, I mean,
you can always push it until it's too late.
Yeah, being too tired. I mean, driving tired and being too tired. There's a fine line at 2 in the morning. And you know what? We're all in denial because we all want to do a great job. Yep. That's probably the most difficult part. And one of my answers to it, if we're truly worried about being on the cell phone, then let's implement something like no cell technology. Let's implement that concept where the driver is enabled to use his phone, and then it becomes a moot point at that when you've got it in the truck, right? Yep. So, I mean, there are different ways in which we can attack this. I understand the right to privacy. That's a fine line, too, on how you can judge that. It's been an argument all the way up to the Supreme Court for years. But I'll tell you, my deal is if you can find a way to make yourself better, and you want to be honest with yourself about it, truly finding a way to be better about it, I don't think there's ever an opportunity not to do that. And sometimes it's just hard.
Yeah. And so here's what we're going to do then. And it may not be this week, but producer, I'm going to ask you for next week. Let's get with one of these with one of these e-log companies that have the driver-facing camera, and let's see what videos we can get from them that have been already approved, been used. And I'm talking about the driver-facing dash camera that shows the drivers on the phone and bad things that happen. I mean, the falling asleep, and I just can't help but think, you know what? If you had technology available to you in this industry that has a driver, and again, when the difference, I would say, you know, when it comes to playing a game or playing or getting too tired. If you're out here in our office right now and you're just worn out, you're hungover, you're falling asleep, you're not going to kill anybody when you fall asleep.
You might bump your head on the
you may hit your head, you may do that, you may just put your shades on and do nothing and sit still for a minute. When it comes to those drivers out there, when, you know, or a traffic controller or somebody, when they do something, when they fall asleep, bad things happen. And if we can prevent that from happening, if we can prevent, you know, help a driver, you know, help know, hey, look, the signs are saying that you're falling asleep. You get on the phone, that driver say, hey, look, it looks like you're worn out right now. And I'm saying if you use the technology to support that driver, says, hey, look, you're worn out, just pull over. Yeah. You got to have to say that. You can't say, hey, snap it through it, bro. I'll stay on the phone with you. I'll walk you there. That's not what it's for. As a DM, as a safety person, you then have that accountability on you now because you've seen him or her getting tired. You've got to get them off the road as well. Yes. You got to encourage them to, hey, let's get that next exit. I'll reserve you a spot. Whatever it is, it keeps us safe. It keeps you safe, and it keeps our industry safe. Technology, you know, it's out there to make us a safer industry. Everybody, we're going to see you this afternoon. Drive safe, Dave. Close us out with a prayer.
Hey, dear Heavenly Father, we gather before you today to ask for your grace in all things. We ask for you to accept us the way we are and give us the strength to change to be better. Give us the ability to go out and be a blessing upon somebody else today in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Give us the courage to do the right thing in the right moment at the right time. Father, give us also the ability to be safe with one another and to also be safe with each other out there on the road. Father, protect our drivers, embrace them, put your hands on their wheel, and give them the ability to do what they need to do today to the best of their abilities. We ask all of this in your name we pray. Amen.
We'll see you this afternoon. And remember, when you're on that highway, you see that next crossing sign. If you ever see it, take the next crossing.
And take a picture.
See you this afternoon.